All right, next up. And this, again, we couldn't hear the questions as they were asked, but this might be what the Lions are doing different than everybody else as they build this team. We've heard this a lot. Here's Dan Campbell yesterday. Brad Holmes said it earlier in the week when he spoke to our morning show. He doesn't believe in the whole one player away theory. Just go get this one guy. And then he made the hypothetical, because what if you get to December and that guy's not available? And then he spoke about depth. Then Dan Campbell spoke about depth. And I think the takeaway from this, when it comes to their pool of money in free agency, is they would rather spend money on 2 decent to good players than 1 great player. I am really starting to believe that that's part of their secret sauce. I mean, they're saying it, so it's not like I'm using deductive reasoning. I guess the question is, are you starting to believe it, and will it work?
Well, I think things change as your roster changes and you have fewer holes to fill. I think what in theory that sounds about right of what they want, but in practice, if you've got a guy in free agency who is a great player, not just a good player, but a great player, and he's the right fit because of everything, all the intangibles that you're looking for, that supersedes everything.
I'm not sure with them, man.
I think it does. I think it would, if depending on the circumstance of what they have. But it's hard to determine that. Maybe those players are more unicorn like than not. But I still think there's some smoke going on.
You don't have access to necessarily, like, you have to have the amount of money and the situation that a free agent might want. And I almost get the sense that I don't get the sense. If you believe what they say, the message they are sending over and over and over is they'd rather have 2 good players than 1 great player. If you believe what they say, which, means they probably won't be a player for the biggest name free agents. And this L'Jarius Sneed story that came out, they probably won't be involved there at all. But if you don't, here's the thing. If you don't have access to using that money to get the 2 good players that you want, then maybe you will settle for the great player, which sounds weird, but I feel like the message they're sending is that's the way they see it.
Well, they also have some great players that they're not going to let hit free agency.
Nope.
Okay.
No, but those are the guys they've drafted.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's a way around getting that. I mean, like, they're not going to let Amon-Ra St. Brown hit free agency. If he, obviously they know what St. Brown is. They know how valuable he is to this team. They know what kind of player he is, and they're going to pay him. They're not going to go, oh, sorry, we're only going to give you $15 million a year. And he's going to get his money, and he's going to come close to setting the market, or he's going to be one of the top 5 paid wide receivers in the game when all is said and done.
No, but one of the things that Brad Holmes did say yesterday is once we know the guys, once we know them and we know that we got it right, we want to keep them. And so that's for the guys inside as opposed to outside.
But here's something else to keep in mind. They've had some changeover in the coaching staff too. Not with the coordinators, which is great, but new coaches that are coming in, and they're speaking very highly of the defensive line coach, Terrell Williams, who's coming in.
Yep.
And Dan Campbell said he might be the best defensive line coach in the NFL. That's high praise indeed. So if this coach comes in, now it can do a couple things. One, you're expecting this great D-line coach to be able to coach up the guys that are already on this roster. So what can he do for a James Houston or a John Kaminsky or a Jonathan Pascal? What can he do? We'll see. The other thing is looking where he came from. He comes from Tennessee. Now, is he going to have an opinion on Tennessee free agents, guys that he's coached up on the defensive line or guys that have been on that defense or period, and come in saying, this is our kind of guy. He loves football. Yeah, but he's one of these higher tier free agents. So what? If he's a guy that's recommended by the coaching staff, by this new coach that comes in, I'm just saying I'm not buying it hook, line, and sinker that they're going to ignore
if it's true
the top end free agent.
The question though will be, if it's true, is it a mistake?
That's a big question.
That's because they keep saying it over and over. You're not buying it. I'm a little bit more believing that they do believe it. That they'd rather have 2 good guys than 1 great guy. And they keep saying it over and over and over. Does it mean that they're going to adhere to that? If that is true, is that a mistake? Because that means this L'Jarius Sneed, that he is available, a great corner from Kansas City, that they won't pursue him. They won't pursue Chris Jones if he makes free agency. They won't be getting a Brian Burns.
But maybe it also just simply means that they're not going to pursue a Patrick Queen because they like their linebacking core. We don't need to go out and get a great guy because we have lots of good guys in depth at that position. So we're not going to look to trade up the good for the great. We like our good because it has depth.
Do you, and our question for the people, 248-539-9797, if they mean it, is this a mistake? If they mean it, that they aren't going to get involved with the top free agents because they prefer to have depth,